Hi, this is Siri Lam, and I wanted to make a video to talk about the power of the filter formula, which for the last little bit has reached my top spot of favorite formula in spreadsheet manipulation. We're going to kind of do this in two parts. And in the first part, we're going to start with a really basic, simple filter formula, and then we'll build it up to doing something more complicated. For this first step, I have this form data here that gives us student names and a club that they chose. But now we want to be able to have like rosters and lists so we know who the kids are, and we can give them to whoever is running the club and say, here are the kids who are in your club. So I've created a second tab over here that has the list of the clubs as in row 1 along the top, and I've frozen the top row so that I'll be able to work with it a little bit better. Now I'm going to put my formula up here into cell A2, and all formulas start with the equal button, and then I type in the word filter. And what's really nice in a spreadsheet is that it gives me the syntax that I'm going to need. So I need to start with the range, and that is the data that I want to put here based on a specific condition. And in this case, what I want is I want kids' names to end up in this column if they have chosen the chess club. So I go back to the sheet with my data, and I'm going to select this whole column of data in column B, because that's where all the kids' names are. And then I put a comma to say that I'm up to the next step. And now I need to put the condition. So in this case, the condition is I want to check if their club choice is equal to the column name, which in this case is chess, which is A1. And then I'm done. That's it. There's only two parts in my filter formula, is what's the range and what's my condition. I've done that. I hit enter, and look at that. I have all the 15 kids who signed up to be in chess, which is really great. But now what's really even better is that I don't have to retype this formula for each column. I'm going to be able to drag it across. But before I drag it across, I need to add dollar signs in front of each of my column names. And that's because we want to set an absolute value as these columns, because otherwise, as I'm going to pull the formula across, it's going to change the value one column over. So that A1 is going to become B1, C1, D1, which is exactly what I want, because then I want a list of the kids in robotics and in knitting and in martial arts. But I don't want to move over the range and the column that I'm checking for my condition. I want those to stay static. I always want to check column B and column C in the other tab. And so I put those dollar signs to maintain that. And now that I've fixed my formula, I'm able to drag this over. And now here we go. I have a list of all the kids who have signed up for all the clubs. Now that we learned the basics of a filter formula and how it works, where it takes a range of data that I want to appear based on a specific condition, we're ready to take it one step further, which I think is much more common and likely in the scenarios that we encounter, which in the case of this sample data that I have here, kids have gotten to choose 3 clubs. And so I have in column B, I have the kids' names, and in column C, I have their choices, which came from a form that gave them check boxes that they were able to choose their top 3 club choices. And I want a list of all the kids who chose each of the clubs. And so I've once again created a tab that has the names of all 10 clubs along the top in row 1. And I've frozen that row again so that I'll be able to use it more easily. And now we need to combine 2 different formulas, because essentially what we're doing is the first part of the filter formula, the range, is going to be the same, but it's the second part, the condition, that gets a little more complex, because what I need to do now is I need to search within that field, within that cell that has all 3, for an instance of just 1. I need to match one thing that I'm searching for. So let's try this out. Actually, before we do, one little caveat and thing to keep in mind. When I was first putting together this form, I was dreaming up pretend clubs that kids might want to join. I had, for column D, I had martial arts, and in column E, I had art. And the problem with that is that art is inside martial arts. And so it kind of got messed up because it didn't know how to look for the whole martial arts and not for art inside of that. And so I changed the name of the club to crafts. So you do just want to make sure that you don't have clubs with overlapping names. But other than that, this formula works like a charm. So we're once again going to start with the equals filter. And we are once again going to pull the kids' names. And once again, we're going to put comma. But now what we need to do is we need to be searching in column C for the value that we want. But here's the thing. The way that it works when you do justice, because there's this... there is a formula called search, which is going to allow me to search for a substring inside a text. So I'm actually going to search, in this case, for A1, and I'm going to search for that inside of the data here. Right? I'm searching for it in here. The only problem is with this search is that it's just going to tell me if it's there or if it's not, but I need to actually be able to record that it's there. And so I'm going to wrap the search in an ISNUMBER, because the search is going to end up producing for me a number, and this is going to count that number, and then it's going to bring it in. But one more thing that I need to do before I put this all together is, again, put my dollar signs. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, I'm not putting a dollar sign in front of A1 because that's actually going to be a dynamic field that's going to change. And now I have all the kids in chess. I'm going to drag this across. I'm missing my dance club here. I'm going to drag this across, and now I have here the entire list of all the kids in their clubs. Martial arts seems to be very, very popular, but now I have it, and it's really now super easy to be able to work with this data. Now, if I had kids' names and their email addresses, then all I would do is make sure I had 2 columns per club, and instead of just searching one column here, which was column B that had their names, if their email addresses were in column C, I would take information from columns B and C and just make sure that I had 2 columns here to be able to hold that data. If I wanted to have separate tabs at the bottom for each of these, and I actually could create a separate tab at the bottom, and then instead of searching for A1, I could search, I could hard code it by putting in, surrounded by quotation marks, the word chess or robotics or whatever it is, the name of the club. I'm going to put the formula into the notes below. I hope that this is helpful, and I would love to hear from you if you're able to use this. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.